India just wrapped up its elections, and within its results are some serious implications for geopolitics as well as the state of the world. This is an important story you need to keep an eye on, and also I want to have a little bit of a talk at the end of this. But anyway, let's start off. This is Narendra Modi. You know him from being Narendra Modi. He's been the 14th Prime Minister of India since 2014, and he's a member of the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party. And he's become a pretty well-known figure in international politics over the last few years with the way he's kind of pushed India to the global stage. Modi is a very complicated figure, as this giant John Oliver piece I'm going to link to in the description that just went live is going to tell you. The short of it is, he's a Hindu nationalist. There's been a definitive bend in his party's politics and his politics to make India an explicitly Hindu nation, one that seems at odds with its 200 million Muslim population, who Modi and the BJP and other Hindu nationalist activists have characterized as like coming to steal your jobs, secretly take over the nation like a cabal. You know those weird, schemy caricatures that are anti-Semitic that we always look back on and see like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. That's this, or at least it's very similar. Muslims being this hidden enemy trying to control things from the shadows and bringing terrorism and evil. Hey, I know this. But honestly, even with the Islamophobia of the US, if you look on Twitter with BJP activists, it's a step above. Now, I don't know why I have to do this every single time, but that's not saying there aren't Muslim extremists. Of course, I, a Muslim, condemn extremism, but Modi has been involved in many scandals of violence against Muslim citizens, as well as Islamophobic rhetoric and messaging, which has gotten super explicit during this whole campaign. And look, Modi's history, as well as that John Oliver piece will tell you, he's popular. And it's not just some prejudiced guy popularity. Modi has actual significant accomplishments within India. I'm not fucking with you. He made massive improvements to infrastructure. That means airports, roads, ports, highways, the streamlining of production. India now has a modernized railway network. The entire face of India has changed. And while many modern authoritarian leaders will say like, fuck the poor and they're leeching off us and everything like that, Modi did, but he still strengthened the social safety net for poor Indians. Look, he complained about it and then proceeded to provide provisions for toilets, cash transfers to farmers and access to electricity, clean drinking water, cooking glass cylinders. That's not nothing. Friends that I know who live in India have seen significant improvements. And the world's seen it too. India on the world stage is not seen as some weak, feeble, hungry country anymore. They are seen as a powerhouse, like an actual legitimate political player in geopolitics. That's enormous. So that makes it very complicated when he is marrying these very legitimate progresses with incredibly bigoted negatives. And everything coming out for this election pointed to another landslide for Modi. Even after scandal after scandal after scandal on all of those prejudice issues, the BJP was going out and saying, hey, let's get 400 seats this time. You know, just all right, what? The fuck do you mean we fell short? Because listen, while the BJP did win quite a few seats, they failed to get a majority, forcing them to form a coalition government in India there first. And it wasn't by a little, they fell short by a lot. Their actual prediction was around 370 seats. They'd won 303 seats in the last election. Their prediction was 370. They got 240. Bruh, you 130 seats off, my dudes. And by the way, this was with the opposition parties having their arm tied behind their back and beaten before they fought. Because this has been an unfair playing field against Modi's enemies in opposition. Sudden corruption charges very inconveniently being brought up against certain opposition party members until they switched to the BJP and then, oh, it's all good suddenly. Also, wild speeches and rhetoric of Modi saying shit like his birth was not a biological event, but he'd been sent by God, which I just want to let you know, in terms of like, you know, the religious posturing and nationalism, that is the most Indian way to like say like God sent you. What is this biology? I am him. Main him hu. Kuch kuch hota hai. Now, Modi was able to form that government. They're all smiles to the press, but this means a ton to the future of India and the world, really. And you're not fooling anybody, because that significant of a gap in the results says a lot, especially with what he put into it. Like I said, Modi has been flirting, honestly, like making out with authoritarianism for a while. He was at a point known as the Indian Donald Trump, the only difference being that Modi actually brought infrastructure and a lot of reforms along with his crazy bullshit. He had unconstitutional fundraising crap. You know, he went after his rivals with government agencies. He froze opposition party bank accounts. Like, he's like, I will do Watergate like 8 times. Modi also turned like the press into a giant propaganda arm for him. All of those things, like at like full, like, I don't give a fuck, I'm fucking Modi. And he still failed to get a majority. Dude, and listen, I remember this happening at the time when Modi was elected. I remember a lot of conversations about this being one of the warning signs about the world flirting with more authoritarian leaders. In fact, this article from Yuri Friedman I'm looking up, will the world grow more authoritarian in 2014? Man, Yuri, shit, bro. But you had Erdogan, you had Putin consolidating control. As the years went on, you had Nigel Farage, Roger Duterte. This was seen as an inflection point in one of the pieces of evidence, Modi's election specifically. It was seen as a giant backlash to democracy and progress we felt we had been having since 2008. Do you see where I'm going with this? Modi's anti-Muslim rhetoric actually hurt him. At least that's what some of the theory actually is. And his dependence on coalition partners who aren't zealots won't let him make scapegoats so easily, which is a reminder that Trump and Farage and all of these fucking goons we've seen over the last 8 years who flirt with this strongman bullshit, the pendulum is shifting again. And look, this is not the only time in history when we've had something like this happen. Lincoln comes into office, the Civil War, huge progress, slavery abolished, and then the guy afterwards tries to undo fucking all of it. During the 60s, massive social movements and protests and unrest, eventually leading to the civil rights movement and the abolishment of Jim Crow, eventually leading to Richard Nixon and the death of Martin Luther King. And you can see more evidence. Again, I'm not saying correlation is causation. I understand this could be circumstantial, but it does feel like a reverse of the conversation we were having in 2014. Donald Trump's polls after his conviction show movement. And that's kind of surprising for a trial that a lot of Americans didn't feel super invested in. And any movement in this close race is enormous. And the reason I'm talking about this, I think the tendency in politics, and when we look at all of these like really shitty things happening and these scary things, especially with progressive movements and left-leaning movements, is to lean on the idea that, oh my God, like these terrible people are in power. Everything is shit. Look at all the awful things people are doing. Expect the worst, because we're stuck in this cycle of scrutinizing a morality that ended up betraying us and electing really shitty people. But you have to understand that in a world that is ruled by media and propaganda and giving you a pain point where you're so scared that you have to act, that's how a lot of media works, incentivizing your anxiety. Living in that world, we have to understand that we as people are all still in the same reality. Why are we watching debate content from people who believe the opposite sides of the reality when most of us believe in the same thing? I'm not saying both sides, everything, but I am saying that there is progress. Like, it's not nothing. This idea of disengaging with the system when Joe Biden does something fucking stupid, or Donald Trump breaks another gag order, or Narendra Modi says he is not a biological event. It's just the weirdest way to say it. Like, don't bog yourself down with that shit. We're still living through history. It's not clean. It's not perfect. There are people who are scared and will act out. But if you engage like India did, even with rampant authoritarianism and pushing down on every media ecosystem you can be, people are like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Cut that shit the fuck out. And that teaches these strongmen a lesson that they can talk all of that shit, but they still answer to us. That's my take. Thank you guys so much for watching. One more thing before I go. I had 2 other videos that I had planned to post today. Now, one of them is going to take a little bit longer. It's the Jenny Nicholson video about the Star Wars thing. It's also been a couple weeks, so I don't know how it's going to play. And one of them was a reaction video. This has been happening for the last couple weeks, where when I post videos like that, I am often accused of ignoring serious world crises, even though I cover that shit on Sundays a lot of the time. I know people can't watch everything I do, but the immediate like feeling of like there's a conspiracy where I am just trying to sell out as a YouTube. I'm just trying to sell out, man, and give into the drama. It's starting to get fucking insulting. And I know I shouldn't like read too much into it and care, but I have to clarify. I'm not fucking selling out. There's a lot of stories that I cover that are hard to cover, where they actually hurt my livelihood from making, like, I know that video is going to get a yellow flag on it from YouTube, and I know that's going to affect my rent, that's going to affect my grocery, like, that's a real thing. And look, I'm doing okay, I'm not like worried or anything like that, but I'm trying to tell you, I do cover this shit, I do cover important things a lot, and I go out of my way against my own, like, bread to do so. And sometimes I want to cover a rap beef, and sometimes I want to cover Jenny Nicholson's funny Star Wars video. If you don't feel that that's your type of content, I get it. You don't have to engage with it. I know some people unsubscribe, but some people plant their flag and say such fucking insane things to me. Like, bro, I'm a dude who raps the news. I have known about stuff that's going on in Palestine since I was a kid. I grew up around a bunch of Muslims who would talk about it all the fucking time. It was a huge issue. I am well aware of so many things, and watching people who have just gotten hip to it this year criticize me because they think that just because I covered the Kendrick rap beef for a bit, I'm turning a blind eye. That's fucking insulting. And I mentioned this, and I feel like I'm being redundant, but I mentioned this again. You don't understand. This whole year is a media culture war. I don't understand how you don't think that you need some breathing pockets. If you're fighting like an actual war, and you're just in the middle of the war, the whole fucking, like, you're just on, like, in the middle of the front without recuperating, no rest, none of that. That hurts your ability to fight. There is strain. You need to see some positives, dude. Everybody is trying their best. This is not easy. It is draining. And looking through horrific photos of what's going on overseas, like, it's not easy to cover this shit. There are people who message me independently, and even when you set boundaries and try to be nice, they continue to message. All that to say, and I'm not complaining, this is the best job I have ever had. It's the best job in the world, but don't get it twisted. I'm human. I'm trying my best. Nobody is a perfect activist all the time. I listen to you guys when you have criticisms, and I try to improve. But it's been a while enough now, and there's been plenty of evidence on this channel that I'm not trying to sell out here, guys. I mean what I say. It's not about the money. It's about the message. It's a very Joker-esque quote. Money comes and goes. I wanted YouTube and stuff to work out, so I had a platform to talk about the things I care about. If I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't have left Apple. I could have gotten a tech job and stuff. I didn't do that. Stuff I believe in, like the Evo album, I lost money on it. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys who do support this kind of stuff. Even guys who are pissed at me for fucking calling them out. I think you know who you are. I still appreciate you watching, and this is going to be a deep cut. That guy lost his dog recently, and he's been going through it. So instead of giving him shit, which I'm sure you'll find his comment, leave him a nice comment about his dog. Titan, I think his name was. Dude, I'm really, really sorry. I know you're hurt. Losing a pet feels like absolute shit. And I hope you're recovering okay and are healthy and in a good place. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back on Sunday with another freestyle of the news. And I have so much content I got to drop. I'll probably drop it either this week or next week. But anyway, my name is Tabani. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.